Hello and welcome back to StormShannon.com. In this video we're going to be talking a lot about mobilizing the ankle joints. So out, go. Alright, welcome back to StormShannon.com. In this video we're going to be talking a lot about mobilizing the ankle joints. The ankle joints are very important as far as your mobility is concerned, because if you're lacking range of motion in your ankle, then you're lacking range of motion at the ground level, and you have to make up for that somewhere else. So we tend to see a lot of places that you'll make up for it is through the hips by rolling your feet out, and so your hips get really tight, puts a lot of pressure on your low back. So then we see the SI joints compress and a lot of pain ensues from that. We also see that with that lack of range of motion, we'll see a pelvic tilt to try to free up, to add range of motion there. We'll see that you tend to over-rotate through your knees. A lot of these areas then are compromised because of that lack of motion. We also see it then from a functional standpoint when you go to pick something up. If you don't have good ankle range of motion, you can't get into a proper position to lift that using your legs and not your back. So we have to start there, build our way up. To do this, we can utilize the squat test, to see just how mobile the ankles are, and we can, start to utilize some different tools to free them up. So, from a standpoint of the squat, what we're looking at is, can you get into the bottom of that squat and hang out and keep the toes forward? Ideally, you should be able to even do it with ankles together. Now, I can't even do that myself. My ankles are a little bit tight, so this is a good set of exercises for me as well, and I'll show you what I do to release my ankles. So, to start with, I'm going to show you using a muscle roller. So, you can get these, pretty much in the sporting goods stores or online at Amazon. This particular one I like because it gets in pretty deep into the tissues, especially around the tendons, and I can put it directly on some of the trigger points and really work to break some of those up. So, when looking at the calf, the most common places I find that you're going to find that are tight through here, that is going to limit range of motion here, is going to be along the tendon at the bottom. There's the trigger point usually in this muscle right at the base of the gastroc. This is actually the muscle belly for your big toe flexor. Usually to the inside part of the calf we will find a nice trigger point. That's actually the muscle belly to the rest of the little toes flexors there. And then also to the outside portion of that calf and that gastroc. So I want to check all of those spots with this roller as I move through to see what is tight and what is gummed up. The reason I like this one a lot for this space too is I can put that tendon, that Achilles tendon, right in between and roll this up and down through there, really breaking those tissues free and working up into that gastroc. I can find those trigger points like that one there, and I can really work in there and break that up. I can come up to that inner one, check it. If it's tight, I can get it on there. I can hold pressure into it. And then I can kind of roll back and forth and break it up as well. And I can do the same through the outside. So it's a very effective tool. Works really well to break up the tension. Now, if we want to add kind of a stretch component to it, get in there and use a little bit more body weight, the foam rollers work really well. I prefer a really hard foam roller for this particular exercise though, so that I can get enough weight on it. So, I'll utilize, get in those same spots. I can cross the legs over, get a little bit more weight, and I can roll through there, roll up and down, break it up that way. I can also put the weight on it, pin it down, and I can pull that ankle up. I can also utilize, bands or, rope straps, and I can pull that ankle back while pinning it down. And then move it around and find where else it's tight. Do the same thing. Really stretch and open that ankle joint up. Okay? Then, if you want to get even more extreme, you find something even harder, say kettlebell, and I can use the handle of that kettlebell to do the same thing. So I can find those spots, put pressure across the ankles, pull that ankle up and down, really get in there, free it up. This might actually be my favorite because it really gets in there deep to loosen those tissues up. So, just another wonderful use for the kettlebell. Alright, so those are all ways we can free up the tissues. Now, we can also work to open that ankle joint up to get more extension in there as well. And the way we do that is by using bands to distract that ankle. So, what I want to do is I want to bring my ankle up through it, and I'm going to wrap it around. So that then I can get some stretch on it. And I'm going to leave view of the camera here, you'll just see my ankle. But that way it's pulling that ankle down and apart while I pull that ankle up. Try to open that up. And I can play around with how those bands cross to get more distraction. Pull on that. I can open that up. I can also go more the other way. Have it pull from the outside. And open up as well. This is another one that I can utilize a belt or a strap, and I can pull that ankle back along with that distraction to get even more flexion into that ankle. So, those are the best ways to start freeing that up. Once you get done freeing it up, you can utilize, a weight if you've got one, or if not, just, work on camping out in the bottom of that squat. Get down in that squat. You can utilize the weight to kind of keep your weight forward to put pressure more into those ankles. Or you can utilize the weight to put pressure down into that ankle, keep that heel on the floor as we then bend it forward to stretch it and open it up. So, those are my favorite ankle mobility exercises. They all work very well. You can utilize any one or any group of those to start working on your own ankle mobility, to start increasing that range of motion so we can get you into the bottom of that squat. The first goal is to be able to do it hips shoulder width apart, toes straight, getting into the bottom of that squat, keeping that back straight. Once we can get you there, we want to move those feet in further and further until you can do it with your feet together. From a functional standpoint, feet shoulder width apart is the minimum, for most functional activities like picking something up off the floor or anything of that nature. So, look for the next video in this series. The next video is going to be talking about the next most common area that we tend to need to mobilize, which is actually the upper back and spine, which is usually very limited and puts extra pressure on the lower back. So that's all for now, and look for that next video.